So Thomas, this diet is the most popular diet on the planet right now. Keto diet's hot. It's just hard for people to stick with it. So you're the best expert when it comes to the keto diet. Give us some tips on how to help people go through that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you're right. It's people fall off the bandwagon, and it's not because the diet's hard to stick to. It's because they don't know the little simple tricks that just don't get out there. And so I've got a few tips. So the first one is focus on more fats, period. A lot of times people just lean way too much on protein. So focus on fats. It's very difficult to overdo the fats simply because you're going to get so satiated. You're going to be so full when you have the fats. It's actually quite hard to overeat those fats. I mean, it is to an extent, but realistically, you get full before you ever really have the desire to eat more. If you sit down and you eat a whole avocado, it seems like a lot of fat, but the reality is that's the kind of fuel that you need to create those ketones in your body. So you want to lean on the fats more so than the protein. Lean on the oils, lean on the avocados, lean on the healthy kinds of mayonnaise that aren't, riddled with soy and canola oil and things like that. Another tip, make sure you keep your minerals high. Okay, here's what's interesting. When you're on a keto diet, what happens is your insulin levels are lower. And when your insulin levels are lower, your kidneys naturally expel more water, which means you might notice you pee a little bit more when you're on the keto diet. It's a perfectly natural thing, but when you pee more, you lose more in the way of salt. You lose more in the way of minerals. So I always suggest that people add good healthy salt, like Himalayan pink salt or real salt or anything like that. They add that to their food or even a little bit to their water, and it actually helps a ton simply because a lot of times any potential fatigue that people are feeling with the keto diet is simply because their electrolytes are out of whack. And especially when you're first getting started on keto, you're losing extra water, which is great. You're losing that water, you're losing that puffiness, that bloating. That's a phenomenal thing, and you feel amazing because of it. But as a result, sometimes you lose those minerals. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. The other thing that I recommend for people just to accelerate the results is do a little bit, just a little bit, 15 minutes of light activity in the morning before you eat something.
Yes.
It's so simple, and it's a lifestyle tip, but it makes a huge, huge change in how your body actually utilizes those fats. You're getting your body using fats as a fuel source already, okay, because you're eating the right foods and eating or not eating the wrong foods, and your body's already optimized to use these fats. So if you wake up in the morning and you do 15 minutes of just light aerobics, that's all you gotta do, you are encouraging the upregulation of these fatty acids as fuel. So you're using this fat as a fuel source because you haven't given yourself any food to actually burn through first. So your body is essentially forced to use body fat for fuel. So that's just a great tip, and it helps keep you in ketosis a lot easier because it upregulates what's called ketogenesis, when you're actually creating these ketones. So it's a really powerful thing. So those would be my 3 biggest tips.
So what about, I want to drink coffee without sugar. Can I drink coffee?
Heck
Can
yeah.
I drink tea?
Coffee and tea, to be completely honest, people think, oh no, coffee and tea, it's a diet, I probably have to cut that out. Heck no, coffee is actually powerful. The caffeine in coffee and tea actually stimulates lipolysis. It actually stimulates the mobilization of fatty acids into the bloodstream. That's what people don't realize. It's not like it's just giving you energy up here. It's literally getting fat out of the cell in its normal spot and into its mobilized form of free fatty acids. So you're literally mobilizing the fat that you're going to burn for fuel. So I never go overboard, but a couple cups of coffee, a little bit of tea, heck yeah.
So lipolysis and thermogenic, correct? Because I know tea and coffee are both thermogenic. So this right there also is allowed in the diet and will help you make you feel better as well and last longer before your next meal. Give us another fat other than avocado. What kind of bacon? You mentioned bacon's okay.
Bacon?
What about fish?
Fish is absolutely great. You just want to go for wild caught fish. Don't go for farm-raised salmon and stuff like that. You're going to end up with a bunch of antibiotics that, quite honestly, here's the thing you have to know about the ketogenic diet, is everything that you put in your body becomes more, the effects become more exacerbated. You become a lot more sensitive, which is a good thing, right? So on the keto diet, you are in a prime position to get exponentially powerful effects from every positive thing that you eat. But it can also mean that you're more sensitive to eating bad things. So you don't want to be taking in those antibiotics because your body's going to be more receptive to it. The more good things you eat, the more profound effect those good things are going to have on your body. You just want to avoid the antibiotic like rich foods, like it's like so much of the meat, the low quality meat and the fish that we eat these days. You want to go for organic whenever possible, or at least non-GMO, and just go a clean source.
That's great. So one last thing, I know people can eat fat now, and I know people can have the caffeine and they can have the avocados. Well, we want a little bit more greens in the diet. Can they have greens? Can they have grasses? Can they have those vegetables? What can they have on a little bit smaller level, just so people understand? Can they have a salad?
Yeah.
What do they put on it, just on an average day?
My favorite thing to do first thing in the morning is to go out on my front porch, grab a big handful of my lawn, and eat it. No, I'm just kidding. No. Yes, you can absolutely eat greens. And that's the thing is people, they think because there's 1 or 2 grams of carbs in these veggies that they can't eat them. The fact is most of those carbs are fiber, which aren't going to really affect your ketogenic state. Like the only way that fiber can ever affect your ketogenic state is if you went like above and beyond. Now, you'd have to be eating scoops upon scoops of psyllium husk and flax seeds to actually have that happen. So you want to get those greens in. Some of my favorite things, like baby kale is one of my favorites because it's so easy to digest. Like you've got regular kale, which it's good, but it's got the stalks and it's kind of hard to mechanically digest. Yeah. So like baby kale is really easy to digest. Huge fan of asparagus. Asparagus is my jam. Probably one of the lowest carb veggies that you're going to find. Super nutrient dense, but it's also high in what are called prebiotic fibers. And these prebiotic fibers allow the growth of good bacteria within your gut. So it's like it's fertilizer for your good healthy gut bacteria, and prebiotic fiber in asparagus is just phenomenal. So you have to get these greens. I mean, it's imperative, and that's a big downfall.
I can't eat anything you talked about without putting some kind of dressing on it, right, guys? So, like, what would I put on it? Give me a healthy dressing, to make it a little bit moist and wet.
That's the nice thing with keto is like you can go from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I'll give you examples of both. You could have these veggies, and you could go the super healthy pure route and have some olive oil and vinegar, sure. Or quite honestly, you could go to the other end of the spectrum and have some, nice high-fat ranch dressing and blue cheese dressing if you really wanted to. Not saying that that's the best choice from just an overall nutritional density profile, but the fact is, it's not going to kick you out of keto. You're still going to be following the cardinal rules of the diet, even if you were to, quite frankly, douse your vegetables in some blue cheese dressing.
All right.